無常
明人人妙
百千
千万
万
語南宋
が根検問直十字三
下如来真
義無
に
明法百千
千万語南宋
が根検問直十字願下如来上人事の百千万が根検問直十字願下如来真実 Today, I'm giving my third talk on the Hachi-dainingaku, 8 awarenesses of a true adult. And today, I'm starting with point 4, which in Japanese is gon shojin. Shojin can be translated as to make an effort. I don't know what you find in the various English translations that exist, but well, making an effort, or how do you say, exert yourself, giving your best, all of those are possible translations. And probably it's Dogen Zenji, or maybe one of his disciples, that gives an explanation to the title. He says, in all of the good dharmas and all of the good activities, it means to, without rest, to restlessly or without a break, make an effort. So, not making a break or not allowing any, how do you say, distance between you, yourself, and what you do is an important point. Making an effort doesn't mean to do everything 120% or so. Of course, that's also important that you do it really 100%. But often people talk about doing 120% or so, emphasizing that they give this extra effort. But it's not so much about making a one-time extra effort, but to be with what you do from morning to night, and even at night. It's not that you take a break time from practice. My teacher used to say there's no time card at Antaiji. So it's not that at 4 o'clock you start with practice, 2 hours of Zazen, and then there's breakfast, and then there's Soji, and after that you have a break. But it's always practice, even at night, even on Hosan, it's part of your practice. So you should never forget, well, why you are at Antaiji. You are at Antaiji to practice. Not only from 4 to 6, not only during Samu, but all of the time. All of the time. And I and others often say, like during Zazen, you don't do Zazen, Zazen does Zazen, or Tenzo. When you are the Tenzo should be the Tenzo. It's not you making an effort to be a good Tenzo, but you allow the Tenzo to be the Tenzo. in a way you could say you're only a tool for the Tenzo to be a Tenzo. You're only a tool for Zazen, to practice Zazen. But for that to happen, you have to be with the Tenzo, you have to be with Zazen. And unfortunately, most of the time, our mind tries to escape the present situation. We are the Tenzo, but the mind is somewhere else. We are practicing Zazen, but our mind is somewhere else. Or at least when it's break time. Now is the time for my mind to escape. Forget about Antaiji, forget about the people I'm surrounded with, forget about everything and escape. For example, to the internet, which is a welcome place to escape to. Another thing that I talked about, it has to do with what comes next here. So effort means seamlessness. There are no breaks. There's no distance between you and what you're doing, between you and your practice. Therefore, it's called shōjin. Shō ni shite zo narazu susunde hikazu in Japanese. Shō means to be, it's fine, it's detailed, it's So you go really into the details. That's the meaning of the sho of shōjin, and jin means to move forward. So it's not zatsu, it's not, how do you say, so la la would be an English word, maybe for zatsu. You don't do things 50%, 60%. You do them completely. And you do them, you follow the details, you go into details. For example, one example of that would be the way of eating. As you know, in Antaiji and all of the other Zen places, there are many rules. And the reason why we have these rules is to make it easier for the mind to stay at the table when you eat. With less rules, it would be much easier, but then your mind would have it much easier to escape. Now, a lot of people that come to Antaiji say, but if it's important to follow these rules, why don't we eat a little bit more slowly? That would make it more easy to be really focused on the details. The same you could say about soji. Why do we clean the floor so fast? If we would take just a little bit more time, it would be much easier to also really clean also the corners and everything. And well, my answer to that question was always yes, if we would do it more slowly, it would be easier. But again, it would also be easier for the mind to escape. To really care for the details, to follow all the rules while you eat, to also clean the corners of the corridor, but to do it fast at the same time. Exactly that forces the mind to be really here. If you would do it only carefully, or you would only do it fast, it would still be possible to do it kind of in a half-assed way. But if you do it carefully and fast, you can't do it in a half-assed way. You need to have this attitude that's called gon shōjin, to practice diligently, I think. It's also one English translation. You have to be diligent. You really have to be from morning to night with what you do. You have to be in the practice. You have to get soaked in the practice, so to speak. Okay, so much maybe to this point number 4 in English. Number 5 is in Japanese fumonen, to how would you translate it? To never forget. Nen. Nen. One possible translation is mindfulness in English. To never allow the mind to escape. Fumonen. And the explanation given to the title is fumonen, not letting the mind escape, not forgetting the mind, means to protect true mindfulness, shonen. That's the seventh of the eightfold path. Number 7 is true mindfulness. So these two are connected. Just as the previous fourth awareness of a true adult practicing diligently is connected to the sixth of the eightfold path. True effort, right effort, and practicing diligently are connected. And here, number 5 of the Hachi-dainingaku is connected to number 7 of the eightfold path. Not forgetting the mind, not allowing the mind to escape, means to protect true mindfulness. It means to protect the Dharma without losing it. And Dharma can mean the teaching of the Buddha, it can mean a rule, it can mean this thing that is always right in front of your eyes, but most of the time you don't see it because it's so close. So the Dharma can also be a word for the here and now. Stay in the here and now. Don't lose the here and now. Don't lose this one moment that you're living right now. And in theory, there's no way to lose it. How could you ever be anywhere except in the here and now? But in reality, we all know by experience that our mind is very clever in escaping the here and now and being all over the place, everywhere except in the here and now. So I think this point is about this. Return to the here and now. Don't allow your mind to escape from the here and now, or the Dharma, as it's said here. Protect the Dharma without losing it. That is called true mindfulness, and it's also called not forgetting mindfulness, or not allowing the mind to escape. And Dogen quotes from the Yuikyo-gyo, the last teaching of the Buddha. The Buddha said, you practitioners, when you look for a teacher, a good mentor that protects you and helps you, there is no better teacher than fumonen. There's no better teacher than not allowing your mind to escape. In the Gakudo Yōjinshu, 10 points to remember when you want to practice the way. Point 5 in the Gakudo Yōjinshu is you have to look for a true teacher. The true teacher is like a carpenter, and the student is like a piece of wood. Even if you have high quality woods, if you don't find the right teacher, nothing will become out of this piece of wood. The other way around, even if the piece of wood is not the best quality, if you find the right carpenter, that carpenter will know what to make out of this piece of wood. So in the Gakudo Yōjinshu, Dogen Zenji says the most important thing for a student is to find the right teacher. And here the Buddha says in a way something completely different. The Buddha says the most important thing, even more important than a teacher or a good senpai, is that you don't allow your mind to escape. And of course, both things are true. Even if you have the best teacher in the world, if your mind is all over the place, You listen to the teacher whenever the teacher gives a Dharma talk, but then you forget about, for example, in Antaiji, why you are in Antaiji. You forget you don't have an aim in your practice. Even the best teacher, even the best Dharma brothers and sisters can't help you in your practice. So first of all, you need this inner compass. You need to know why you practice. Not only during the 2 hours of zazen in the morning, but during the 24 hours of the day, during the 365 days of the year. Why are you in Antaiji? This inner compass is the best teacher. So some might ask then, well, if I have this inner compass, I'm quite confident that I'm mindful most of the day. I know why I'm practicing. Why should I bother with studying with a teacher? I'm my own teacher. And doesn't the Buddha say here, the best teacher you can have is your own mindful state. Mindfulness is the best teacher. So it should be enough to be just mindful in this moment. I don't need a teacher. Actually, I know quite a lot of people who say exactly that. And some of you might know that about 15 to 20 years ago, when I was still living in Antaiji, I wrote this series called Adult Practice. And it's exactly about what it means to practice as a true adult, as somebody who takes responsibility for his own practice, not like a child that thinks that my father, my mother will help me. If you want to practice like a true adult, that's basically the topic of the series. And one of the articles I wrote is stop being mindful. Stop being mindful. Actually, that's one of the more popular articles in that series, probably because it has this surprising title. Because many Buddhists say, and the Buddha here says, mindfulness is the most important thing. The reason why I said, and still say from time to time, stop being mindful is it's easy to trick you into thinking I am mindful. I'm very mindful. For example, the people say, why do we eat so fast in Antaiji? It obstructs my mindfulness. I'm trying to be mindful, but everybody's so fast. I can't be mindful. That's an artificial idea, concept of their mindfulness. And they think when everybody is faster than them, it somehow, how do you say, hinders them to be mindful. But that's only their artificial concept of I'm mindful, I'm mindful, I'm mindful. True mindfulness, in true mindfulness, you don't have this idea, I'm mindful, I'm mindful. That person that thinks I'm mindful completely disappears in the action. You are completely at the table. You have no idea if you're mindful or not. You completely lose this concept of mindfulness. When you're really in the soji and you're really mindfully cleaning, you don't have the idea, I'm doing this mindfully. You're completely in there. And a teacher and Dharma brothers and sisters can be a great help to allow you to forget this concept of mindfulness, this artificial idea of I'm mindful. So therefore, I think, well, you need two teachers. The inner compass, the aim. You need to have this, maybe not the answer to the question why you are in Antaiji, but at least the question, what am I doing here? This precious time I'm spending here in Antaiji, am I really using it the right way? You need this aim, this inner compass, but also the feedback from the right teacher. And only then, when these two kind of correspond, you can really absorb what the teacher's teaching and also allow the teacher to sometimes throw a question back at you and allow the teacher to check your inner compass. Either way, here the Buddha says there's no better teacher, there's no better Dharma brother or sister than fumonen, which means the attitude of not allowing the mind to escape. If you have this attitude, it's like protecting yourself from the thieves of the various desires from breaking into your house. And then the Buddha goes one step further and says, if your mind is always with what you do, if your mind is always here in the moment, so to speak, or if it's not there, if your mind is not here, you will lose all virtues, all that you gain through practice. And that might sound a little bit funny if you've studied at Antaiji and you heard that Zazen is good for nothing. Zazen is good for nothing. There are no virtues. There's nothing to gain from practice. What is the Buddha talking here about? But probably you know by your own experience, if you sit a session till the end and you give your all, or you somehow, how do you say, wiggle yourself through. I don't know if that's an English explanation, but I think you try what you get. You somehow get yourself through these 5 days, moving around, sometimes sleeping, escaping whenever your mind can escape. And of course, 5 days will somehow pass. But how do you say, the end result of these 5 days is not the same. What sticks with you is not the same. And it's not only about a session, it's the same with samu, whatever you do. If you really give your all and your mind is with what you did until the end, or if you do it half-heartedly and you tell yourself, for example, in Tenzo, who knows, in a week or so, nobody will remember what I cooked anyway. Who cares? Who cares if I fail this time as a Tenzo? Not only will what you cook be less delicious, but it won't help you to grow. So I think that's what the Buddha means here with you will lose all of the virtues if your mind isn't here. If you allow your mind to escape, you will lose everything. And of course, you could also explain it in a different way. If you allow your mind to escape, you lose everything, is because here and now is everything you have. What do you have during Zazen? Except the experience of Zazen, including the pain and everything. What do you have when you're the Tenzo, except the experience of standing there in the kitchen, having to cook something? If you allow your mind to escape that situation, you lose everything. You lose everything you have. You lose the present moment, and that is everything. You could also explain it in that way. And you don't even need this idea of virtue or gaining something through practice. And next sentence. Even if you enter the thieves or the rebels of the 5 desires, simply put, the Buddha is here talking about all of our desires. What we see, what we hear, what we taste, what we smell, what we feel with the body, all of those desires that we have. If you encounter these, you go out into the rows of the enemy forces. But if you're mindful, You will be protected as if you wearing an armor. And my example for that was, for example, during Zazen. You feel a pain or you feel drowsy. There's an easy way to escape the pain. You can just stretch your legs, move them around a little bit. There's an easy way to escape the drowsiness. You just fall asleep. On the internet, or if you go down to Hamasaka or you visit Osaka, there's lots of things in the supermarket that you desire. How do you take care of that desire? Well, it's an easy way. You just click on Buy Me, you spend some money, you take whatever you want to the cash register at the supermarket, you buy it, and then it's yours. That's one way to become free of desire, to get free of pain, to get free of drowsiness. You just follow the desire. And that's actually what many people call freedom. I buy whatever I want to have. I do what I want to do. And another form of freedom that is more close to the Buddhist idea of freedom, of liberation, is in Zazen you experience a pain. What do? You experience the freedom to not move. There is pain. There's the desire to move your leg, but you realize I'm free to not move now. You feel drowsy. You could as well sleep, but you discover the freedom to still stay awake. And then when you go down to Hamasaka or you're on the internet or you're in Osaka, there's lots of things that you would like to have. You could buy those, of course, but you also experience the freedom to realize, yes, that looks nice, delicious, whatever. I would like to have it, but I also have the freedom to not buy it. Actually, I don't need it. And I know from experience, I buy it now and already tomorrow I'm, how do you say, tired of it. I don't really need it. I think I need it. I don't really need it. And I have the freedom not to buy it. I have the freedom not to react on my desires. That's what he means here with being protected by the armor of mindfulness. So you enter the thieves, the rebels, but you're wearing an armor. That is called fumewonen. That is called not allowing your mind to escape. Okay, do you have any questions? If you have, now would be a time to ask. If there's no questions, I can also continue with point 6.
すいません、多分
どうぞ。
すいません。
ドイツ語で。
ドイツ語です。なんでいえ。
日本語でもいいですよ。
日本語でもいいですよ。
じゃない。
すいません、but I do have maybe a question. 多分 this is a stupid question. But for the last point, the freedom not to act on one's desires. I feel struggle because if I sit zazen and I have a lot of pain, I know this rationally. I don't have to move.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point I feel I cannot do it. I am too weak. So I doubt myself very much.
Mm.
And maybe my question is, is there a... not what should I do, but maybe if there is if Dogen or anyone or something is written about how to approach this doubt in one's action, maybe. Hi.
Thank you for the question. It's an important question. You know rationally that you have the freedom not to move, but you feel too weak. And at least from my experience, sometimes it even feels like this is killing me. This is killing me. In theory, I have the freedom not to move, but in practice, if I don't move now, I'm gonna die. What did Dogen Zenji say? Well, what comes up in my mind first is this dropping off of body and mind, or letting go of body and mind and throwing them into the house of Buddha, which of course, the house of Buddha in my mind means the reality you are in right now. For example, in that moment, it's the pain of Zazen. You throw body and mind into the pain that you're experiencing. And that, of course, what is needed is trust. You need unconditional trust. And Dogen Zenji then says, once you do that, from the side of the Buddha, you will be carried. You only have to follow, and without your own effort, without using your own mind, you will be free from samsara and be a Buddha yourself. And in my words, that's what I mean when I say you have to die on the cushion. You have to die on the cushion, which means you have to open up to this feeling of this might kill me. There's the possibility that I won't survive. This might be my last Zazen. But you open up to this possibility and say, and even if this is going to be the last time I'm sitting here, let it be. I'm not going to fight anymore against the pain, but I don't want to escape anymore. I'm not going to move. I'm not avoiding the pain. I'm not grinding my teeth and fighting against the pain because I know I'm too weak. But just because I'm weak, I don't have to escape anymore. Even the weakest person, me, can die. I allow myself to die. And from my experience, of course, you don't die in that moment, even if it psychological feels like this. You don't die, and you realize maybe a moment after that, but why I'm still sitting here? How come I'm still sitting here? I thought I was dying. And that's exactly when it feels like Zazen is doing Zazen. Until then, I felt I must do Zazen, but I'm too weak. I'm too weak to bear all that pain. And you open up to death on the cushion. You open up that Zazen might kill you. I'm using my smartphone as the camera, and I think it tells me that I have only 5% left or so. So maybe I switch my camera to the laptop. Okay. Excuse me that I'm now looking down on you, but my smartphone is giving up pretty soon. You were asking for what kind of advice you could give. I don't know if this qualifies as advice, because again, you could say, yeah, of course I understand in theory that I should die on the cushion, but how do I do it? I'm not ready for it. At one point, maybe you get to the point where you tell yourself, I have no other choice. I came to Antaiji because I want the whole package, or I came to Antaiji to do it. But I always get to this point where I know in theory I don't have to move. I do it 100%, but in practice I feel too weak. And each time I'm retreating. But do I want to do that for the whole time I'm spending here in Antaiji? Of course you can do it. You can do it for a year, for 3 years, maybe even 10 years. You can play this escaping yourself game with yourself. But at one point, maybe you get to this point, well, either I do it 100% or I'm leaving. And probably that's the point where many people actually leave Antaiji. But if you stay and tell yourself, even a weak person like myself can die on the cushion, then exactly what I just described might happen. You allow the pain to swallow you up, to absorb you. And that's not only about the pain during Zazen, but it can happen in a difficult, also maybe social situation where you don't get along with people. You feel, I can't possibly stay with these people, and you give up yourself, and sometimes that can help, or it can help during samu, in a difficult samu situation, to just allow yourself to be absorbed by it. And I think that's what Dogen Zenji means when he says, give up body and mind, throw them into the house of the Buddha. That's how I understand these lines. And then from the side of the Buddha, you are going to be carried and just follow along without your own strength and without your mind. You're going to be liberated from samsara and you will be a Buddha. I don't know if that's an answer. I could imagine you already knew it before. In theory, probably knew all what I told you, but that's all I can say.
No, yes, it's interesting because as you were talking, I feel during the first session I felt exactly like this. I felt if I die during this week I am here, it doesn't matter because it feels it doesn't matter. I am ready to die doing this. I feel maybe why I asked the question anyways, because now I'm still here and it's every day, every situation.
Yes.
So maybe I didn't feel too weak in this first week or these first few times because at some point I also knew it is only in my mind only this week, but now it is forever. So maybe this is where I start to doubt myself, because I can do it. I can do it maybe right now, and then maybe I can do it a little longer, but forever, I don't know. I don't know. So this is maybe why I asked. Yes, but thank you very much.
Yeah, it's not a once in a lifetime thing. Like you have to do it over and over again. You have to do it over and over again. I remember one thing that one of my Dharma seniors, like one of the students of Śākyamuni Roshi, told me when I became the abbot of Antaiji, and I was only 31 years old at the time. Oh no, 33, 34. But I was in my early 30s. So I was very young, and it's a big responsibility. And in a way, of course, each of you who are practicing in Antaiji are in this situation that you have to give up yourself every day anew during session and even outside of the session. You always have to give up. You always have to give more than you feel you're able to do. But being in the position of the abbot, it's, in a way you could say it's even a stage higher, because one difference is when you're in Antaiji, even if you say, I'm going to stay for 3 years, you can always leave. You can always pack your stuff and leave. If you're the abbot, you don't have that option. Not having that option makes a big difference. Being responsible for the practice of others also makes a difference. It's not only about you, it's about each of, say, 10 people or so that you have there, and each of them comes to you with a different problem. So I felt a lot of times, even after more of a decade of practice in Antaiji, after I became the abbot of Antaiji, this is too much for me. Again and again, I have to give my all, but I have to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And often you also feel like everybody else, they stay for half a year, maybe a year, then they leave. But you're the one who has to do it eternally. And again, so back to this student of Śākyamuni Roshi, who wrote me a letter, and he said, well, the most important thing in Japanese is seigan, which means vow. And that's something that came out of the blue to me. Like, of course, I've been reciting the Shigu Seikan, Shuzhou Muhen Seigan Do, all these years before Dharma talks and stuff like that. I'd been repeating them over and over, but yes, at the end of the day, so what can help you? What can help you with repeating this, completely giving up over and over, is basically reminding you of these vows that you had been repeating so many times. I vow to save all beings, although they are countless. I vow to cut all these illusions, although they are numberless. I vow to pass through all these Dharma gates, although there's no end to them. I vow to walk the Buddha way until the end. Although there is no end, I know there's no end, and still I vow to walk until the end. So sometimes it can be helpful to remind yourself of these vows and what you have been chanting for so long. And of course, there's also the, how do you say, maybe the, in German, the Trost, the relief of knowing you're not the only one. And I could imagine that even people like Dogen Zenji, they had their doubts during the practice. But there's kind of, relief or the knowledge that you're not the only one who has the doubts, but you're also not the only one who's kind of practicing these vows or joining into these vows. So the root of your practice, or where you get strength from, those are these vows. Another thing that somebody told me after that was kind of for me, how do you say, an inspiration, something that gave me food for thought, is at the time I talked a lot about the importance of vows. You have to establish a vow, or sometimes in the West we say, I take the precepts, which sounds of kind of funny because it sounds like I take it. Now it's my precept. And maybe you have the same attitude with a vow. I vow that. Now it's my vow. But what this other person told me is, no, it's not your vows. You cannot own the vow. These vows are not your vows. But I'm allowed to kind of join into the vow. I'm allowed in. I can share them. I'm allowed in. The same with the precepts. It's not that I take the precept. It's more that the precepts take me, the vows take me. I'm taking in by the vows. So that's also important to have this attitude, not I take this vow. But if you have this attitude, then you feel, but I'm too weak for it. I can't carry that vow. Now you don't take the vow. The vow takes you with it. The vow lets you in. So having this attitude might help you, might give you strength. The vows help me. The vows take me with them. I'm allowed to ride on the train of the Bodhisattva vow. Any other questions? Or you can ask the same question again if it's not solved. 衆生無変誓願の煩悩無人誓願願傲慢無量誓願学仏道無常誓願の衆生無変誓願の煩悩無人誓願願傲慢無量誓願学仏道無常誓願像衆生無変誓願の煩悩無人誓願願傲慢無量誓願学仏道無常誓願像